Donald Trump hung up on CNN after they asked him questions about Jeffrey Epstein, and now we know why he's been freaking out so much about the Epstein files. The Department of Justice told him in May that he's in the Epstein files, but don't worry, he's got a brilliant new ploy to get himself out of trouble. Yell more about Obama. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. You guys, for weeks, Trump has been desperately trying to change the topic from Epstein. Earlier this week, he explained to Republicans during a meeting at the White House how they should pivot from Epstein questions to a different topic.
Remember this, Obama cheated on the election. And we have it cold, hard, blue, and it's getting even more so because the stuff that's coming in is not even believable. So, and you should mention that every time they give you a question that's not appropriate. Just say, oh, by the way, Obama cheated on the election.
It's like watching a magician explain a magic trick, and it's also a trick. So first you throw down the smoke pellet, then you got to run away as fast as you can. But Trump seemed confident that this tactic would work.
Every time they give you a question that's not appropriate, just say, oh, by the way, Obama cheated on the election. You'll watch the camera turn off instantly.
Yeah, but you're on camera right now. You just said it and the camera didn't turn off. The camera never turns off, of course, when you're talking, unless it's C-SPAN and the AA batteries run out. We've been living through 10 years of nonstop Trump coverage, and guys, it sucks. The only way it could be worse is if you had a GoPro attached to your head. Trump's like that annoying friend who's always streaming live on Instagram, and you guys, that's not what Instagram is for. I open up Instagram for 3 reasons. To post a pic that makes my life look cooler than it is, to get jealous when a friend posts a pic that makes their life look cooler than it is, and to see if the For You page recommends any AI-generated lingerie models. I didn't search for it, the algorithm served it to me. That said, her name is Sonia, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, she gets me. We have such great banter. Like the other day I messaged her and I said, did you like last night's Closer Look? And she said, your content is inspiring. And it's just like nice when people are specific. And I know you're all gonna say, don't give her your social security number, but let me stop you because it's too late, I already did. Anyway, Trump's been instructing Republicans to change the subject. It's a transparent gimmick, and now he's got his intelligence director fully on board.
Trump has been trying to draw attention away from Epstein by going after President Obama. Today, Director of National Security Tulsi Gabbard joined the White House press briefing to repeat a conspiracy theory promoted by the president that President Obama ordered an investigation into Russia and the 2016 election in order to hurt Trump.
The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
Here's my only reaction to that. Whatever's in those Epstein files must be really bad. They must be finding so many mentions of Trump, they're gonna have to change the name to the Trump Files featuring Jeffrey Epstein. They're so desperate to distract everyone, they're claiming that Barack Obama is guilty of treasonous conspiracy and leading a coup against Trump. Barack Obama, the guy couldn't even get away with smoking a cigarette in his own house. I honestly think we're one more Epstein story away from Trump just announcing that UFOs are real. Be saying like, aliens exist, they live here on Earth. In fact, one of them used to be my lawyer. Of course, these attempts to distract keep falling flat because new information about Trump's ties to Epstein keep coming out.
We do have some new reporting into CNN, and this is, well, it's a story from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that in May, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy informed the president at a meeting in the White House that his name was in the Epstein files. This is reporting now in the Wall Street Journal. We should note that CNN has not independently confirmed that information.
Yes, very important. And obviously, in which context, right? That's really the question.
Exactly. In what context did his name come up in those files?
That's right.
Yes, the context matters. For example, maybe Jeffrey Epstein kept a list of innocent people who did nothing wrong. Maybe Epstein had a little black book full of names labeled people who refuse to participate in sex trafficking but still want to come to my island for snorkeling. Also, of course, he's in the files. He knew Epstein for 15 years. Epstein called him his closest friend. I have no idea if Trump committed a crime with Epstein. But the reason we're talking about this at all is because Republicans who hyped it up for years, thinking it would damage their political opponents.
Folks, please keep your eye on this case. I can't emphasize to you enough. This Epstein thing is there's more than meets the eye there. I know a lot of people want to make this thing go away.
Who's on the Epstein tapes, folks? Who's on those tapes? Who's in those black books? Why have they been hiding it?
That's Dan Bongino, who is currently the deputy director of the FBI. So when you say, why have they been hiding it, the they is you now, bro. These guys are going to have to start doing conspiracy theory podcasts about themselves. Why am I hiding the Epstein files? Why am I trying to make it go away? Who got to me? MAGA is suddenly changing their tune. They went from saying it's a cover-up to actually, there are good reasons for the cover-up.
You've got innocent people on those flight logs that flew. President Trump has admitted he flew on those flights, and dozens of other Americans, I'm sure, rode. I know a lot of wealthy people, Jake, and they fly on these dadgum planes, private planes. If one's broke down, they say, hey, I got a seat on this guy's plane. Can you want to ride with us to New York? And that's what happens.
Oh, I see. So someone's private plane might break down, and then Epstein would give them a ride, and then, I guess, write their name and number in his black book? Because you know how you want to keep in touch with everyone on your flight. Hey, Dave, it's Jeff from the plane. Just wanted to see if you enjoyed Remember the Titans. The only thing about that story that rings true to me is that Trump's plane broke down constantly, and he was always trying to bum a ride. Hey, Jeff, it's Don. Yeah, she broke down again. Yeah, same old problem. No gas. So it turns out Trump has known for months that his name is in the Epstein files, which certainly undercuts his response to this question from just over a week ago.
On what? On what? On what subject? Okay. A very, very quick briefing. Yeah. No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden,
No, I don't know. In the span of 30 seconds, he went from my name's not in the files to it was a very quick briefing to they were made up by Obama to not saying words at all. Also, I love the move at the top when he says, on what subject? Like, you don't know. What other subjects are people asking you about these days? I'm surprised he didn't ask which Epstein. Brian Epstein, Beatles manager? I don't think I'd be in the files, but you can certainly file me away as a fan. I'm a big fan. So clearly, that was a lie. In fact, it turns out the Trump administration had FBI agents scouring the files around the clock for any mention of his name.
We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned.
Well, at least Trump kept his promise to create more jobs, specifically jobs for FBI agents to look for Trump's name in the Epstein files. Imagine getting that assignment. You sign up to work for the nation's top law enforcement agency, think you're going to do cool stuff like bust a drug ring or take down mobsters, and instead they give you a big old stack of Excel spreadsheets and a highlighter and tell you to stay up for 24 hours straight looking for Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files. Also, it's not my job to allocate the FBI's resources, but isn't that a better job for Command F? It's no surprise Trump's name is all over those files. They were good friends for years. In fact, CNN just unearthed new photos of Epstein at Trump's wedding in 1993, and when they asked Trump about it, he was not pleased.
The friendship between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein continues to be scrutinized, and tonight, CNN has exclusively obtained new photos of Jeffrey Epstein at Trump's wedding to Marla Maples.
So you actually called President Trump. You called him directly to ask him about this.
Yeah, we were not on the phone very long. I think our call was about 30 seconds or so. But when I asked him about the wedding photo, he said, he sort of paused for a second and then said, "You've got to be kidding me," before calling CNN fake news and then hanging up on me.
Wow, this has to be the first time in history Trump has ever been the one to end a phone call. I mean, this is a guy who used to call into Fox and Friends and rant uninterrupted for so long the host would just sit frozen on the couch like they were trapped in a Saw movie. Also, Trump forgot to use his brilliant checkmate. Remember, he said to do this.
Just say, oh, by the way, Obama cheated on the election. You'll watch the camera turn off instantly.
The camera didn't turn off, but it sounds like the phone sure did. This story is yet another example of the MAGA fever swamp colliding with reality. For years, they hyped up the Epstein conspiracy, thinking it would damage their political opponents. They thought Trump was the hero, but now he's the one doing the cover-up. Trump's in a jam, and he thinks he can get out of it by just yelling his safe word.
Obama. Obama. Obama.
This has been A Closer Look.